Welcome to all of you amazing coaches, practitioners, mentors. I was recently hosting a webinar and we had hundreds of people on there. And I asked, do you guys resonate with the name coach or mentor? Like what what really is landing for you? And the two most common were coach and mentor. And I love that. Not everybody resonates with the term coach. So sometimes when you see the title of the show or the program coach, you may not resonate with the term coach, but for me, it just means anybody creating change with people. And today, I'm excited for all of you coaches, mentors, practitioners to join me because we're going to talk a little bit about money. And this is a spinoff of actually an inside the BDC all month long inside in August is sales month. So we're talking about sales, we're talking about money. And this is a conversation that I didn't know that was going to be so critical when I started a business. I'm a coach. I'm not a salesperson. I don't need to explore my relationship with money. Boy, was I wrong. Because the moment you start charging people for a service, it's very easy to pull your own self worth and money stuff into it. And you know this already if you're even like one toe in the water, because this is actually where I see coaches get stuck is they get into the cycle of free coaching because they're unwilling or unaware of the blocks they have around money and service. And so today I'm talking about three essential traits that I believe every coach should have to develop should have in order to make more money. And this is based on my experience. I'm sure if you interviewed another coach in a similar place or beyond, they're going to have a different perspective. But here's my background, just so you know. I come from, a middle class family. My parents have been married for now when I'm recording this, I guess 45 plus years. I might be totally off on that. It could be even more. Can't do quick math around it. They both had middle class jobs. They didn't have a lot of extra when it came to the things that we did, but we definitely weren't struggling either. And even so, as I became an adult, right, some of those things definitely I lived in the space of like there's just never enough money. I'm never going to make lots of money. The belief is like people with more money are happier. So I've had to do strong work around many of those limiting beliefs around money that I didn't even know existed until I started making lots of it inside of my business. And I want to help you today to just explore these so that you can grow your profit. You can increase your ability to receive more money. And most importantly, with that money and with your growth inside your coaching practice, you can change lives and impact the world at the next level. So I'm just going to go right into it and share the three traits and some background around what I mean by them. The first trait that I believe is important to help you make more money inside of business is detachment. I'm going to be real. This has been real heavy for me in the last year. So I'm going to just be transparent about some of my struggles. I, when I was teaching, I was probably working around 60 to 70 hours a week. And I think my highest salary I ever brought in as a teacher was about $43,000 in Arizona. Arizona teachers do not make a lot of money, even when the cost of living is higher. It's not of high value here as far as payroll is concerned. And I worked those 60, 70 hours because I loved my job. I definitely over delivered, but I also ran the student government. So I got a little extra money called a stipend for that. And I also coached multiple sports. So I was spending a lot of hours on campus. And I was never tracking those hours. I never paid attention at the time. It was before a family, and so my husband worked nights. I didn't have a lot to rush home for, to be quite frank. He was working the night shift, so it was very easy for me to become, immersed in my work as a teacher. And then here I have a family. I leave. I start my own business, and I start to like see how I can make money. Like, oh my gosh, I can just like put myself out there and I can serve my clients and then they send more clients to me. And so, I went from thinking that like to make $1 million in my lifetime was impossible, let alone now I'm running my business to make it, in, the first few years and then to be able to continue to do that year on and year on. That to me like just blew my mind. And as I share this, I even feel a little bit of inside me, because unfortunately, the industry prides itself on sharing those vanity metrics, right? Because you're like, well, if that coach can make billions, I'm going to hire her over this coach over here that's maybe not sharing as much financial transparency. And so I even feel myself pulled into it. Like it's like a contest. Like I got to show people how much I make in order for them to work with me. And that does not feel congruent for me at all. And so what started happening for me is I was really attached to that metric in my business. I was like, woo, look at me. I'm making this money. And then there's months where you don't. And I would find myself extremely emotionally like struggling, like, oh, what's happening, why are we here, what did I do wrong, and kind of beat myself up. And I think that many of you might have experienced this or could potentially experience this. But detachment looks like you're so obsessed with the person saying yes on a sales call that when they say no, you fall apart in pieces. Hands up, I've been there before. Or you pitch to a podcast and you're so attached to the yes that when there is a no, that rejection sends you into a massive pity party and you're like, this is never going to work, right? You feel sorry for yourself. Or you log into your CRM or whatever, your QuickBooks or whatever, where you look at your metric and you see that number isn't where you want, and you completely change your emotions. You're just so attached to the outcomes of the action you take that it puts you in this emotional roller coaster. And so, a major benefit for me to this practice is when you start to see that that detachment is holding you captive, and you start to ask yourself, like, what can I do to just take the action and not care about what happens? I'm going to record the podcast episode, and if 5 people listen, great. If 1,500 people listen, great too. Or I'm going to get on the sales call and I'm going to be fully myself, and if they say yes, great, and if they say no, fine. Right? I'm going to pitch myself, and it's almost like desensitizing yourself to the outcome. And it is so powerful, because it's like you're a bull in a china shop. You just keep moving through, and I don't mean that in an aggressive way, but it's like the surroundings don't matter. The You just know where you want to go and you head there, and it's okay if things are no's and yeses, they just fall away from you. And I think that's a critical trait that is necessary for you to increase growth in your business, both financially and emotionally. Uh, Trait number 2 that I believe will help you make more revenue, more profit specifically, is the art of gratitude. It's kind of cliche, so I don't love talking about this one. And also, it's everything. The ability to find these pocket wins that are happening throughout your journey that might feel minuscule, but creating this space daily. And I'd like to go even more than daily, like hourly, consistently. Like gratitude becomes a part of your constant self awareness that is transformative for you. When you find that gratitude and you're able to say, like, I'm not there yet, but like, look at all the goings on. Like, I haven't hit 100K, but this podcast said yes. This client just sent me this information. I just was able to make a connection with this person. Like, look at my home. It's so beautiful right here. Look at this view. Oh my gosh, my coffee is so great. It's literally a rewiring in your brain that helps you curate happiness in the present moment without having to go out and change a damn thing. And if you are a high achiever, which you probably are because you're an entrepreneur, this is one of the things we struggle with the most is we constantly are looking to the next thing. We want the next thing. We accomplish the goal and we want the next one. Or we have the belief like, if I just make more money, if I just have more clients, then I will be happier. Gratitude, though, brings us into the present moment. It raises our vibrational energy. It helps us focus on the here and the now. Because when we're so focused on the future, it creates anxiety, it creates fear. And when we take action from a place of anxiety and fear in our business, guess what? We're not really doing what the heart is driving us to do. We're letting money be the thing that's talking. We're letting more be the thing that's talking. And I think when you spend time practicing this for me is an extreme game changer. And that could look like just a journaling practice. But what I would say is, instead of just writing, my first journaling practice was the 5-minute journal. And it was just like, I am grateful for, I am grateful for, which I think is a great place to start. But one thing I would add is I am grateful for and because. Like, I am grateful for my, husband doing the dishes because it saved me time and energy where we could do other things. Going a little bit deeper and not staying surface with it. So you have time. It literally pulls you into the practice a little bit deeper. So gratitude is definitely trait number 2 to help you make more money. And lastly, trait number 3, I think, is something that 100% of people are trying to cultivate in some aspect of their life, whether it's health, business, relationships, and that is consistency. Consistency is the name of the game. And I think one of the things that is tossed around and is a bit trendy in the coaching world and in just life in general is this term manifestation. I'm just going to manifest it. And the truth is, we don't manifest anything. Nothing just appears out of thin air into our hands. We we think it, we visualize it, we manifest it in our hearts and our minds, and then intentional action takes us toward the thing, both consciously and unconsciously. And I believe there is such strong power in that intention and that guides your action taking. But if you're not consistent with that action, then you are not going to create the results that you desire. And so I think this is where we have to take a deeper look at ourselves and ask ourselves, why am I not doing the things that I know will move the needle consistently? We have to explore what's stopping us from being consistent. Is it environment? Right? Is it like I just haven't cultivated an environment for success? Is it a lack of boundaries? Is it a belief? For each of us, that might be different. But in order to make consistent profit, guess what, friends? We have to be consistent with our thoughts and our behaviors and our actions. And I think that sometimes a lot of the quick fix mentality in some of the coaching world portrays another option. And the people that have success are there because they've developed consistency or they've hired people to help them be consistent, right? They themselves have invested in a coach or coaches to help them create consistency. When we see our blind spots, we can attack them so that we cultivate those consistent habits. And at the root of that, right, is our thinking, because thoughts drive feelings, feelings drive action, and action ultimately drives results. This is the core of what you could explore with your own clients. But first, we have to explore it inside of ourselves, because I would never ask a client to do something I wasn't willing to do for myself. And so if you're lacking consistency, we feel out of alignment with our clients sometimes as well. And it's an opportunity for you to figure out what works with you, and what works with you may work with your clients. So some things I do to cultivate consistency for sure are tracking. I keep personal KPIs. So those are key performance indicators. I'm tracking some of the habits that are leading to my success. And I'm also first doing like the investigation to ask myself what's really working. So I'm not spending all my time cultivating social media, because I also know that that's not like the place where most people are finding me and interacting with me. And so by developing personal KPIs, I am tracking them consistently. And this isn't like obsessive, but this is like I know what works for my life and I want to keep track of it and hold myself accountable. And the other thing that I do to maintain consistency personally is I set standards and I don't allow my feelings to help me deviate, or to allow me to deviate from those standards. So I may not feel like working out, but I've set the standard that I'll work out 5 times a week at minimum. So I do it even on the days I don't want to. It might look shorter, it might look less intense. And freaking, it makes such a difference. It just makes such a difference in your confidence. If I've set the intention to record a podcast and I don't feel like it, or I have imposter feelings and I do it anyway, and it might look like a different content that I planned or something different. But consistency is bred when we don't allow our feelings to dictate the actions moving forward. So, thinking about those 3 traits, moving from the beginning to the end: detachment, gratitude, consistency. I'd love for you to ask yourself, what would my life look like in 3 months or 3 years from now if I practiced these three things? If I somehow weave them into my day in and day out life, like where might I be in 3 months or 3 years? And just allow that to be kind of the take home from today, and maybe a journaling or reflection practice. You could even answer that quickly in your voice notes as you listen on your phone. And of course, come talk with me on Instagram. It's where I like to hang out the most to have these discussions as well, because no doubt as you grow these traits, I think you'll find that they're directly correlate to the success you have inside of your business. So we'll see you next time. And until then, enjoy all of the amazing clients you get to work with and coach them up.